Good evening and welcome back to Poe Unplugged, where we tonight are going to be discussing Poe's poem Eldorado. And I can't wait to talk about this poem. It's one of my favorites, and I know Jeanie, it is yours.
Mine. It is my favorite poem of Poe's. It even is better than, I hate to say it, Raven for me. I can't help it. I don't know why. It's a short, but it just, ever since I read it, it just touched me deep in my soul, and it's like I can't get over it.
Yeah.
So,
Jeanie, I made sure I was here tonight because I know how much this poem means to you.
oh,
And
thank you.
I wanted to hear you geek out about it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna love geeking out, and so Will loves the poem too. So we're gonna be geeking together. And actually, Will, we got a special for you because Will did a rendition of it, a rendition. Sorry, not a. I don't even know what that word was, but anyway, he he sent it to us, and so we're gonna start off with sharing his rendition of Eldorado.
Yes.
So. Here we go.
Let me hold on.
Be kind. That's all I ask.
Oh, it's great. We've seen it.
It's wonderful.
All right. So to get us started, here we go. I've got make sure.
Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of Eldorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like Eldorado. And when his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of Eldorado? O'er the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for Eldorado.
Yes.
Do the snaps.
Yeah, do the snap. Snap, snap.
Yes, Will, that was great. I was so excited.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Will, you were better than my audiobook that I listened to of that today. So
Really? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
I have to say, I love that you read it with such light.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Light.
Like hope.
Oh.
Like the way you recited it, it was kind of it wasn't like forlorn and dark. It was someone who was searching and they weren't going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
and
you.
I like that.
I try to also feel a little bit hopeless, especially in the line about, growing old and all that stuff.
Mhm.
You might have noticed that I think it's when he asks the shadow where Eldorado is, my voice breaks a little bit. And I thought that was actually great. Like, he's been wandering for years. He's reached the end of his rope. He's starting to crack a little bit. So that was an accident, my voice breaking like that, but I thought it worked.
Yeah.
It fit perfectly. I mean,
it did.
It showed that there was tragedy, but there was hope on the horizon. That it didn't matter how desperate you were still not going to give up. And I think that's one of the reasons that this poem has always touched me, is because the first time I read it, and this goes back to where I was raised Southern Baptist in the Bible Belt of the South, and Bible thumping all the way. But the first time I read this, all I could think of was Psalms 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And as I was reading Eldorado, I was reciting that psalm in my head, because to me, it was pretty much on the same thing, because there is, and we've talked about this before, the religious aspect that we pop in on certain things with Poe, that, the city of gold, lining the
Yeah.
streets of gold, thinking about, heaven. That is what we were told during the sermons, that, our end goal is to reach that city of gold, those streets lined, and to have our final eternal reward. So to me, that was Poe writing yet again, saying that we suffer every time through life, no matter what tragedies, what good times, bad times, hopes, dreams, whether we receive them or not. But there's always something at the end that we're going to reach for.
Mm-hmm.
And Will, what was it you just said? Something about, hold on.
He says my background is supposedly where Eldorado is said to be located, by the way. Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. Well, that's another thing. Okay, Will, go ahead and say what you're going to.
So, just it's called Altiplano Cundi Boyacense. That's how you
Mhm.
say it. It's a plateau in the Colombian Andes.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. It's most of the origin stories do come from in the 1500s, based on South American area, because of the Incans, the Mayans, and the conquistadors. It's like what I was telling Carmen earlier, because there's so many different legends. That one of the legends was that one of the Spanish conquistador, his last name was Oviedo. I remember that because, most of Florida is named after Spanish people.
Mhm.
Oviedo, Florida, which is right outside Disney, which is why I remember it. But and
Yes.
he was one of those, and he would walk around with dust of gold dust on him as he was walking through. And there was another legend of where someone would cover themselves, one of the Incans or the Aztecs, I can't remember, one of them. They would cover themselves in turpentine and then sprinkle gold dust on them, then go out into the middle of this giant lake to start the festival. And it was like, okay, turpentine? That would hurt, in my opinion. But okay,
Yeah.
cover yourself with turpentine. So, but yeah, the legends are so far, and it's kind of like, to me, kind of like Ponce de Leon looking for the fountain of youth.
Mm-hmm.
So many things reaching for and trying to find. But one of the things I was telling Carmen that I thought was interesting is that the poem Eldorado is not two separate words.
Yeah.
So the term Eldorado comes from the Spanish, meaning the golden one. So I was just wondering if Poe, why he put it as one word, and what did he mean for it? Was it something different?
Yeah. That's a really good question, and it and also kind of tagging off Jeannie, one of the great explorers, Sir Walter Raleigh, also tried to look for El Dorado and to find the city of gold
Oh yeah.
historically. Yeah, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, because he was, let me make sure. Yeah, I think Raleigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Drake was the pirate. Drake
Yeah.
was the pirate. Sir Walter Drake was the pirate. Raleigh was the one that the city was named after.
Yes.
So, but yeah,
Absolutely.
most of the explorers from that time, especially the Spanish, were looking for their El Dorado.
Yeah. And with the question Jeannie just brought up, did Poe mean for it to be different, putting those words together? Does anybody know anything about that?
Well, I remember a few months back we had a special guest do a reading of El Dorado, correct?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
Mark
he
Dawidziak.
thought,
Yes.
yeah, and he thought that it wasn't this poem about hopelessness, like the way I read it, and that it
Mm-hmm.
was more kind of a positive, leaning piece. So that's one view on it I've heard anyway.
Yeah.
Perhaps Poe was just trying to make the word his own by putting it together, or maybe he was making the word imperfect by misspelling it that way, to let us know that this knight's quest is imperfect, that he probably will never find Eldorado, at least in this realm.
Yeah, and I could definitely see Poe doing that.
Yeah, like Dr.
Absolutely.
Jeff, like you said, that's how I kind of took it. Like he's searching for this heaven on earth that may be Eldorado, but it's like really something more. It meant more to him than just that. And that when he meets the Shadow's like basically telling him, like, yeah, it's kind of hopeless. You're never gonna have it in this realm, on this plane, but kind of go over the other side once you die and you'll have that heaven you're searching for. That's how I kind of took that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he can't find it because he can't spell it right.
Oh.
Right.
That's a good one.
By the way, every
right.
time I see that picture come up with the Golden City, I'm in like a really like goofy mood tonight. But every time I see that picture, I just see a city giving me the middle finger and multiple. Next time the picture comes up, everyone look at it and just see if you can't find that it looks really funny. I don't know.
Okay.
Exactly.
See?
That's
See?
great.
Just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just laughing about that, but
Yeah.
I
No,
don't have any real
hilarious.
thoughts on like the title because like he played around with words all the time like that to change the meaning. So who knows? I'll tell you, maybe Chris would know. I bet Chris would. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to
Can I
say
throw
that I
in a-
just looked up the translations, and there's actually a French to English translation, not just Spanish. And the French to English translation actually has the French spelling as Poe did it. And in the French translation, it means a utopia
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
or ideal state. So that may be why that he spelled it that way, is because we all know that Poe is very much a proponent of French because he spoke French very well. So
Yeah.
and utopia would definitely be another city of gold search for the final destination.
Yeah. And I think, Mike, were you going to say something?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just a novice at this, but as Holly said, I'm a big Poe fan. And I remember reading this when I was very, very young. And then and now I just interpreted him making Eldorado one word as being Eldorado, not necessarily literally a pot of gold or a place of gold, but a metaphor for an attainable goal.
Yeah.
Something that you strive for, whether it be a heaven on earth or a city of gold or whatever. And then the shadow, of course, would be the antithesis of that, or the death or the ending. If you don't succeed, fine, but you're still looking for it. It's almost like there's a little bit of Emily Dickinson thrown in there with this thing. So anyway, that's just a novice thought.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good thoughts on that. And then Will said, I forgot if I mentioned it before, but I always had the suspicion that the shadow was being sarcastic, throwing out mountains of the moon and valley of the shadow, but essentially telling him his quest wasn't worth it. So that's an interesting thought too.
And maybe the shadow was somebody who died looking for Eldorado.
Very true. Yeah, definitely. I kind of wrote a note to myself. Well, I kind of wrote a couple things down, but is this the story of life, looking for your own passion, not necessarily, a heaven on earth, a utopia, a city of gold, but just what makes you thrive, what you want to be, who you want to be, what you want to do that makes you like extremely happy, euphoric almost. And then I also said, is it a story of hope? Kind of thinking about what Mark had said, like Will had mentioned. Is it more about hope than it is about, you'll never find it because it's not attainable? It's kind of how I was thinking. I've read it so many times because I just love the cadence of it that I come out with different things each time.
It's like it would be a good song if it was put to
Yes.
music.
Yes,
Absolutely.
quite a few people have put it to music.
I would think so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I ran across one YouTube video of a guy playing a guitar. He had written a song in 3/4 time, and the words essentially fit into 3/4 time with just a few little changes. So yeah, it's been used in quite a few popular songs.
Yeah, good.
And quoted in movies.
Oh,
that
yeah, I
is-
know one called Eldorado.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's one with, I think it's Claude Rains or Basil Rathbone, famous actor, narrating it, and someone playing a Mexican style guitar, doing a little solos between each line. That's a fun one to listen to, with some cool animation as well.
Yeah, because I even thought, because Marty Robbins has a lot of songs of that nature. El Paso is probably one of his most famous. And I looked up because I was thinking, did he do a song, Eldorado? Because there is, I believe John Wayne made a movie, Eldorado, and I was thinking,
Yeah, that's the one I was
maybe-
talking about.
Yes, Layla.
Yes.
And so, but I couldn't find anything that Marty Robbins did that. But I did just share in the chat box. You guys should check it out. Alex Zavostovich responded and said he couldn't make it tonight. Really would have loved to have come, but the Poe on the Air did a rendition of Eldorado, and it's got Alex sings in it, and it is great. It's a really cool. It's about 20 minutes. And so check it out later on. And I listened to it before coming on tonight, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm excited about that because everything they do is like gold.
Yes. Stay gold,
really,
Tony boy.
Top-notch stuff, man. Alex is such a fantastic person too.
Yeah, he is. All right, other thoughts. And while you're talking, I'm going to go run and get something real quick that I forgot to bring. I'll be right back.
Going back to what you said, Will, about like looking like the shadow being someone that was kind of warning him, like, or died in the process. So I don't know if we have any Scooby-Doo fans in the house. I'm like old school Scooby-Doo fan, like Mystery Inc. and like older. But the Mystery Inc., the entire setup is actually an Edgar Allan Poe theme about Eldorado. So if you actually watch the whole Mystery Inc., at the end, it's all about it. Like, they're looking for this, like, I mean, it has like the whole set. I don't want to give anything else away, but it's actually, I know it's for kids, but it's absolutely excellent and actually really creepy. And so many Poe, so Eldorado throughout the whole thing. And that's like what the premise is. Like, they're trying, people have died trying to find it. And so check it out if you like Scooby-Doo and obviously Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
Now, is this an episode of Scooby-Doo, or is it the show in general?
So it was a couple. So it was like, so they have all different versions of it. This was the one in like the early 2000s. It was actually called Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc.
Okay.
So I actually have to look for the Mystery Inc. part. And I think it was either 3 or 4 seasons. So of course, like any series, it has like filler episodes. But the underlining thing is they're trying to crack this one gigantic mystery. And it has to, they find this gold plate. They found a gold plate and they're like, are looking for it. And I don't want to give anything else away, but so you have to watch all the seasons to get to the end, but I thought it was excellent.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo
Mystery
is great.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo can be scary at times.
Yeah, let me tell you, like, this one, like, I'm telling you, Will, I was like, I probably haven't watched it in like a decade, but so, I mean, but I'm 40, so I was still 30 years old and being like scared of this, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so creepy. That's good.
All right. What other thoughts?
Well, here's an interesting question. Sorry if I'm hogging so much.
No, you're fine.
Go for it.
What would happen if the knight actually found, let's say he actually was looking for a city of gold, and let's say he finds it. What then? Where does he go from there? We don't really talk about, like, everyone is striving for that unattainable goal, but what happens when you reach it? I'd like to, that there should be some kind of sequel poem where he finds Eldorado and then he just, what am I going to do now? I spent my whole life looking for it, and now
And that goes back to in my opinion, it's the search that it's something that's never attainable. And if you do reach it, like heaven, if you die and you reach the gates of heaven and the city of gold, paved with gold, who exactly are you going to be able to tell that you're there, that you found it, that you made it? Because you're at the end. You've accomplished what you set out to do, and it's your own personal goal. So, in essence, why would you need to tell anybody? Because it's kind of like everybody's got their own dreams and hopes for the future, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So, and sometimes you get something that you didn't even want. You didn't even see coming. So, what is actually your city of gold?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I think in the shadow is always, in my opinion, is always like the conscience that's in the back of your head, that's sitting on your shoulder, or just talking to you, telling you that, why don't you just give up? Why don't you just stop? You're never gonna find what you truly hope to find. So why keep going? Why try?
And
So
what you just said kind of reminds me of the song from the Man of La Mancha, The Impossible Dream. Remember the song?
Yes, yes,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
And the
yes.
words, and it says to
Dream.
follow this quest, no matter how far, no matter how hopeless, and so forth. And
Yeah.
that's my quest, to follow that star, to keep going. And I think maybe the tinge of that what Poe put in here. The important thing is the quest. It's
Yep.
not so much if you find it, but if you strive for it.
As inevitable as a guilty conscience. I like that. I like that. That's definitely one of those things. Dream the impossible dream. Thank you for reminding me of that, because that is so much that I love it. And Eminem's Lose Yourself. Yes, Micah. I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, and that's true. Think about it, because one of the things that pops into my head is the Last Crusade from Indiana Jones. When they're searching for the Holy Grail. So, I think once more, it all depends upon, and just like with Poe, because Carmen and I were talking about when he wrote this, because we couldn't remember if it was published posthumously or it actually was posted before his death, which it was. It was published April, correct, Carmen?
April 21st, 1849. And one tidbit, because some of the things that I was reading was just what was going on in the world, and obviously the gold rush, California gold rush of 1849, which actually began August 1848. And so just the height of it started kind of, moving into 1849. And so logistically, when Poe published this, and this was in Boston's The Flag of Our Fathers, where it was first published, he, some scholars think that maybe he was kind of going off of this, craze of people going to California looking for the gold, and that, maybe he did this for that. But I think it could have been multiple reasons why he wrote it when he did. It
I
just
think it also had to do with the whole manifest destiny that was going on at the time, because that was the big thing that we were pushing. Like, what was his name? Polk. I'm like, he's Tennessee. He was Tennessee. What can I think of it? Polk, because Polk was one of the ones that was trying to push and wanting to, go out, and he wanted that area, and just
James
trying to
K.
push all
Polk,
the people.
president.
Yes, James K. Polk. He was the one that was trying to get California. He was going to pay him $15 million for California because he wanted it so bad. yeah, that didn't work out. We ended up in the Spanish-American War, and then we ended up getting most of that for 15 million anyway. I'm like, could have saved us a whole bunch of time and still stop being, But anyway, so Manifest Destiny kind of started that push towards the West Coast, and God's given right for the British colonials, I guess we can call them by that time, to take what they want. So yeah, and then the gold rush came out of that, and because everybody was wanting to get that, perfect future. They were after that perfect dream of making it rich.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, like earlier I mentioned, that is it your own passion, your own utopia or goal that you're looking for is what Poe meant. And was Poe writing about himself and he was still looking for that utopia or goal?
Well, and think about it. Poe had already suffered the loss of Virginia, and he had lost what was Muddy, right? No, Muddy had.
No, she's still alive.
No, not Muddy. Who was it? He had lost his first foster mother, Frances, right? That's
Yeah.
Yeah. He had lost Frances. He had lost Virginia. He had lost pretty much himself several times over.
Yeah.
So I think part of it might have just been where Poe was trying to find himself again, and trying to find his own utopia, trying to find his end area. And maybe he had some kind of premonition, because it was only like 6 months later that he was dead.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, and I was going to mention, kind of to tag off that too, with I don't know, we interviewed James McKenna, who wrote An October's Journey, Poe's Final Gift. Has anyone had a chance to read that yet? Okay, so if you want a closer connection with Eldorado, I highly recommend the book. I read it and I didn't want the book to end because of just the connection to the poem, other Poe things, and it brought this poem to life with other elements added in. So definitely check out that book. I don't want to give away any spoilers, just like when we did his interview. But his writing is very much in the Gothic style. It makes you feel like Poe is right there with him. And so definitely check out the book.
What's the title of the book again?
It's called An October's Journey. Here, I will put it. I'll find a link and put it in the chat box, and that way you'll have it. You're welcome.
But be very aware, it is not your typical reading. It is a literary written, meaning that it is very much designed for literature. It's not like for pleasure reading or something like that.
More scholarly approach.
Exactly.
It was for
Thank
me,
you, Dr.
though.
Jeff. I couldn't think of the name.
Well,
I couldn't think of scholarly.
I gained lots of pleasure from the book. So yes, it was scholarly, but at the same time, I love the book. Like I said, I didn't want it to end.
It's not pleasurable. I'm just saying that someone who is expecting to read for just the sake of reading,
right? Yeah,
that you can't go in thinking like that.
Yeah,
it's like when I'm, my friend Julie and even Carmen and a few other of my friends always accuse me of being a literary snob. But
not you, Jeanie.
I read things for different reasons. It's like I've had to stop and start a book like 2 or 3 times, because sometimes my brain will kick over to my English side and I start seeing all the grammatical errors all the literary inconsistencies, all of that. And so I have to stop myself and turn that part of my brain off and just turn it on for just pleasure, just for an escapism type of thing. So that's why I try to make the distinction so you will be aware. Okay, this is not one of those, like, if you pick it up and you expect to read like Gone with the Wind or Little Women or something like that. You're reading an actual literary, scholarly, like if you are listening to Poe reading it to you in the chamber.
Yeah, he said he wrote, I mean, I didn't read it yet, but he said he wrote it as a contemporary. So it would be as if like Edgar Allan Poe would have written it.
Yeah.
So it's written in the time period, not in the vernacular of today.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Holly, for
no problem.
helping me out.
Well, I'd like to go. Are you finished?
Yes. I was, because I wasn't sure if Keith had said something, and go for it, Dr. Jeff. Yes.
Well, I want to go back to what Jeanie said about how once we get to heaven, we can't tell anybody. Yeah. And I was thinking, who knows how many, visitations and materializations by ghosts are real. But in all of the seances and the appearances of ghosts, have any of them said, I have just come from heaven? I'm in heaven, but now I'm talking to you? I know that, many people, when they have a near-death experience or are dying, even Christopher Reeve said this, when he was injured and they were working on him and he flatlined for 50 seconds. He went out of his body, just like in Somewhere in Time, and looked down on himself and then started seeing a light. And so many people talk about that light as if they're going to heaven, and then they're snapped back. But have any ghosts said that I'm in heaven? I've been there, and that's where I am.
No, nothing I've ever read or talked about. And I'm like you, Dr. Jeff. My grandmother even had an experience like that with her last child. She bled to death after giving birth, because that was back when you would give birth at home with a midwife. And so they had to thankfully rush her to the hospital and were able to bring her back. And she even made a comment that she saw a light and she saw her father, who had already passed on. But that was it. So it's like she didn't say anything about seeing the gates of heaven, seeing anything like that. She just saw other people, like her family, and saw that light. So I'm like you. It's like,
I guess
how many? Yeah.
I guess the legend and mythology of ghosts are that they are earthbound, that maybe they have not been able to get to heaven, and that's why they are still ghosts in this world. But I don't, that's fascinating to think, where have they come from? Where were they before they supposedly appeared to somebody or gave evidence of themselves?
Yeah. And sometimes I think that if they are still earthbound, is this a type of purgatory for them? Is this their purgatory? Have they not reached that? Because the way I think about it is, who would actually want to leave heaven if it truly is what is the, so even if they did have the chance to come back and tell us about it, would they? Would anybody want to come back from that after they reached it? And I can understand that, because sometimes you said your grandmother, like on a phone, that phoned you from heaven. That would be cool. What if it was just a dream? But what if it was just something that, if you could, would she just pop in and say, hey, I've been in heaven. I saw the mansions. I saw the city of gold. It's great. You really want to, strive for this. But at the same time, if you've reached Eldorado, would you truly want to come back? Would you want to say, I mean, that's why I say that it's more a personal choice, that when you read this, and what are you striving for, and what is your end goal? What is that one part that you want to reach? And it would be wonderful to, and still is, it is one of my spiritual ideas that there is another plane of existence after this one. So, oh yeah, Harry Houdini. I remember that, Micah. The seance that conducted for Harry Houdini. And I've actually been a part of a lot of seances and stuff. And it is a wonderful thing. Things have been happening that have been unexplainable, and I don't care what anyone says. There are some things that, like what is when Shakespeare said there are more things between heaven and earth, Horatio, than I can't remember the rest of it. But
more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Thank you, Dr. Jeff. I knew you would help me out. It's been a while since I've taught Shakespeare, so about 20 years. So, but anyway, moving on. Next, who wants to take over now? I'm done.
Hey, Will, were you going to say something?
Well, speaking of unexplainable, I had a brief little anecdote, if I may.
Yeah.
So I used to volunteer in my town. There's a very famous jazz club, and the owner of the place died 10 years ago. And even when he was in a good mood, he was a grouch. And at his memorial service, one of his ex-girlfriends was speaking, and she made some little crack about him. And right after she made that crack, the microphone just suddenly went out. And everyone was like, ooh, ah, because if had he been alive, he would have reacted, in that kind of way, right? So we all kind of thought that he was there with us when the microphone went out. But that was him saying, one more F you, ha ha, F you, see you later, kind of thing.
Oh, goodness.
Well, that would do it.
Yeah.
Oh, and my little I guess afternoon special, or don't do what I do kind of thing. I was stupid enough that when I was a senior in high school, my friends and I told them, hey, it's Halloween. Let's get a Ouija board and let's do all this kind of things. But at that time, that was when you could go to Walmart and buy a Ouija board because it was a game kind of thing. Well, we went, they were all sold out. So I came up with the bright idea that I would create my own. I did. That was a bad thing. It did not work out well. And as much as, my lovely friends would do, they pushed me out of the house with the Ouija board and locked the door behind me and said, you get rid of it. And so here I am trying to get rid of it. And I put gasoline, I put kerosene, lighter fluid, everything on it to try to burn it. And it was just made out of a piece of cardboard. It would never catch on fire, never would burn. And I finally, all right. So I got a shovel and buried a deep, deep hole and stuck it in there and covered it back up. And I told them, I said, now let me back in the house and don't you ever do that to me again. So I have never messed with a Ouija board since then. Let's put it that way. So I'm like,
I'm going to have nightmares tonight.
I know.
Now, it's strange. I love horror, and I can watch horror movies and read ghost stories and read everything and watch forever. But when people start talking about real events,
yes,
that scares me to death.
Yes.
Yeah. It was an experience. Let's put it to you. Let me put it to you that way. And just stupidity teenagers. We were actually going to start. We were actually going to go up onto this hill behind my house because it was in the Great Smoky Mountains, where there was an old family cemetery that had been left up there. Nobody knew who was buried there, but the tombstones were there, but they were so weathered, we didn't know who it belonged to. We were bright enough to say, hey, we're going to go up there. We're going to go and have a seance with the Ouija board up here in the So yeah, my friends chickened out and left me up there by myself again too. So I had to make my way. So yeah, I learned a lot of lessons that night. That one, Ouija board is not something to be messed with. Two, yeah, my friends are always going to leave my ass because they're going to. It's like that old saying: "I don't have to be fast; I just have to be faster than you." Okay, so
Oh my
yeah.
word.
Yeah, so that was, and it was Halloween night. So I'm telling you, it was, we wanted to make sure that we did it. So Carmen, when we're doing our Halloween special, yeah, I'm push you down first because I have a power wheelchair now. I can run you over. Okay, I can outrun you now.
Oh, yeah. Will said I went to a cemetery at night once, and later on, our TV kept turning off by itself. Oh, yeah. Well, and I will tell you this, sometimes on my way home, when Jeanie and I are talking about, Poe planning and things like that, I talk to her and, I always have it, hands free. And there is a little family cemetery I pass, and it's very creepy because one of the tombstone like figures, it's like a tombstone, and in front of it, it looks like a hooded figure bent over looking at the tombstone. And it always creeps me out. I can see it when I'm going to school, but when I'm coming home, you can't really see that as well. Otherwise, I'd have to like do this and I'd wreck. But anyway, every time I talk to Jeanie on the phone, it cuts out. The phone call cuts out a little bit and then picks back up after I pass the cemetery.
It literally is a dead zone.
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely. It's just, oh my goodness, it's so creepy. But as we digress,
yeah. Hey, it could be the other plane trying to find their own Eldorado by coming back and reaching out to the living. Who knows?
Absolutely. But I think one of those spirits might have hitchhiked on my car because my cat, his name is Mitt, not Poe. He has his Conqueror worm toy that he announces when he kills it. He's very loud, and he has been, instead of bringing it to me or my husband, he has been taking it up the stairs, yelling louder than he does with us, and leaving it for something upstairs. And so it's really creeping me out.
He's talking to Poe.
I hope so. I hope it's Poe.
Yeah, we have. No, I'm talking about Edgar Allan Poe.
I know. Yeah, because Poe is never around when he does this, Poe the cat, because he's like, dude, I can't handle this.
Exactly. It's like, I can't handle your drama.
Well, any other thoughts on Eldorado?
Not Eldorado, but Virginia, I like your mug or cup that you're drinking out of with a picture of Poe on it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, Poe is actually showing up in his otherworlding now. If he comes off the cup, Virginia, we're gonna have a problem.
So the other day I was driving back from dance rehearsal, and the way this is going to sound so goofy, the way the sun was hitting the mug in my cup holder, it was bouncing on, because I had my window rolled down a little bit, and so it was bouncing the image onto my window, and it looked incredibly spectral.
Ooh.
And I was like, I wish I wasn't driving because I need to take a photo of like just this, because you couldn't, because of the way it showed up on the window, you couldn't really tell that it was off of a cup. It's just like hanging out on my window, and I'm like, oh, this would be such a cool picture, but I'm driving. So it kind of came out of the cup.
Yeah.
Kind of seriously.
Well, and we could also wrap this with the poem, thinking that, maybe that is what Poe was wanting to do, is trying to find how he could find out. Like Virginia had already crossed over, and everything, and he was searching for that one place that he could find her again. to reach his own peace. Because in essence, isn't that what we're all searching for? It's not a city of gold. It's not the perfect anything. It's just inner peace.
Yeah.
That one spot to where we can finally be free from worry, from illness, from grief, from all of it. So, I mean, that's one thing that I'll leave with that as my own Eldorado, is that's my search. That's what I attain. That's what I want to attain. So that's me, and that's my Eldorado.
Yes. And that's a perfect way to end the discussion. Honestly, Jeannie, it really is.
Well,
Yep.
I have my moments.
You do. You have lots of them.
I have my moment. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Hey, let me end with what my name is going to be for the Halloween. I am Madame Jeanette, the Potastic Poteller.
Okay.
That is going to
Yes.
be me for Halloween.
Yes.
Lovely. I love it.
Jeannie will ask who painted or the painting that's for your cover.
All right, hold on. It is let me get it.
And Micah said this was great. So good to see everyone. Will said fantastico.
It's fantastico.
Have a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. And Jeannie, while you're looking that up, so September we're reading An Arctic Mystery by Jules Verne. I'm really excited about that. And then we haven't come up with anything for October, so I was thinking about something that would be kind of fitting for October, because that'll be on the last Tuesday of the month is October 29th. So even though we're having our Halloween special, we're still having Poe Unplugged for October. So what do you guys think about reading Hop Frog?
Sounds
That
good.
sound good?
We can do that.
Hey, it's hopping. It's a hopping. I think it'd be cool.
I just thought that would be kind of fitting.
Yeah.
A little of that is incorporated into the Roger Corman, Vincent Price movie, The Mask of the Red Death.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Will, I put it in chat. It's from the Lassie Foundation. It's a band camp. It's their album cover.
Ooh.
And they've got some cool sounds. So I shared it so you can look it up.
Oh wow.
And listen to them because they're really cool.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Unless you guys have another suggestion for October. I just was trying to think of something that would, there's a jester, and the royalty does dress up. And so I don't want to give too much away if you haven't read it, or for our viewers and listeners that haven't read it. So I don't know. There was just something about that that kind of just popped in my head. So unless you guys have another suggestion, we'll go with that.
I think Hop Fry would be cool because it is one of the most, in my opinion, most underrated stories, because not a lot of people have read it or even heard about it. So I think that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Well, then Hop Frog it is in October.
Woo, we'll be hopping in.
Yeah.
And stay weird, Will.
Yes.
I like it. Stay weird.
Yes.
Exactly. Right. And stay gold.
Oh, yes. And what I went to get, and I was going to bring it earlier, was I got this from the Outsider's House in Tulsa that I visited last year, or earlier this year, last year. Stay gold.
Stay gold, pony boy.
Exactly. Stay gold, pony boy. Stay gold.
Stay gold, Poe.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
it was so
great.
you.
This was awesome.
Great. And until
great
next
discussion.
month.
Okay.
All right.
Have
See you
a good
later.
September.
What's the date for next month?
September. Yeah,
Oh.
what's the day for next month?
September. Hold on one
Yeah,
second. Let me
Carmen's the
get my
date person,
calendar.
not me.
Oh yes, yeah. She's like, it's tonight? Next month is September 24th. September 24th. That's the last Tuesday in September.
And what are we doing?
An Arctic Journey by Jules Verne.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll be out
That's
of
right.
town. I just realized that tonight.
Oh,
But I should be
okay.
able to do it in October.
Oh, good. Okay,
Awesome.
great.
Yeah, I'll
Great.
miss it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Coolio. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Y'all have
Bye.
a good night.
See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Unto Eldorado.
Yes.